Welcome to VP Property Management. My name is Eddie Van Buskirk. I am one of the owners of VP Property Management and just wanted to take a minute and talk about outside investors. A lot of our clients are investors who are from California, New York, Colorado, Seattle, places that have, they're very expensive to live. So places where, you'd buy a house, like this size for $1 million. This, two bed, one bath house. Maybe it's not $1 million, but maybe, I know in Colorado, depending on the neighborhood you're in, you're probably looking at six to $700,000 for a small bungalow. So anyway, Kansas City becomes really attractive for a lot of people because they could buy a whole lot, more house or get the cost per square foot per house is significantly less. So Kansas City becomes a really desirable area for people to buy for the amount of rent that they get on it. So we have a lot of out-of-state investors coming to Kansas City, but the problem is a lot of those investors don't really do their due diligence and figure out what is going to be a good area to go in, what are the schools like, what are the taxes like, should I be on the Kansas side, should I be on the Missouri side, what about KCK? Kansas City is separated by I think 7 or 8 counties. We got Wyandotte County, Johnson County, Cass County down here, Jackson County, Platte, Clay. Those are the immediate ones, and then there's some further out that aren't, Leavenworth County. So anyway, there's a lot of counties in Kansas City. So a lot of that affects all of those things, the school districts, the taxes. And then when out-of-state investors don't come here and do their own due diligence on what kind of neighborhood they want to be in, they maybe take somebody's advice and they don't really explore, what they're buying. So when I used to work for another real estate company, these people would just sell, they're called turnkey. So they're ready to go. They're supposedly ready to go solutions for people to buy. And they sometimes have renters in them and sometimes they don't have renters in them. But when they're turnkey, somebody got them ready to be rented. And so out of state investors would just buy the turnkey rental and put somebody in it. And most of those would be on the east side of Kansas City in a, somewhere like Sugar Creek, Independence. Sugar Creek's a good spot that this one's multifamily, which might be a good one to buy. Just a little house, say it's turnkey, and have it renting out. Well, they don't know the condition of it. Maybe photos can be doctored to make it look better than it might be. Maybe somebody said, oh, yeah, you're going to get so much rent with Section 8 or with, get a market rate tenant in there. But the issue comes down a lot of times. What happens if the tenant stops paying their portion of the Section 8? Or what happens if the property manager doesn't fix problems with the property and then it goes into abatement and then the owner is missing out on the Section 8 portion because it's not fixed? They're all situations that happen. We've actually bought a property from an out-of-state investor who was going to lose it to foreclosure because he wasn't getting his portion of Section 8 from them because there was a problem with the property that the property manager wasn't fixing, and the property owner didn't know enough how to, he didn't know enough about the area to call somebody to have him come fix it. And so he was going to lose the property, and we ended up buying it from him before he went to in lieu of foreclosure. But a lot of investors just don't know enough about the Kansas City market. And so having a really good team here to educate you on what neighborhoods are like, what kind of tenants you would be getting, if Section 8 is a good idea, what kind of problems you might run across from Section 8. Everybody, praises or touts the good things about Section 8, but there are also headaches and hurdles that come along with it as well. So if you're not fully, understanding what those might be, then it can really be detrimental to the success of your property. So VP Property Management, we really pride ourselves on being able to provide investors really good, well-rounded knowledge of the area. On top of that, what kind of rents you would get, if you do make it a little bit nicer property, what kind of rent you could get if you make it a little bit nicer, what are strategies to, cover costs, especially if you get into multifamily. Do you need to charge a fee for, this house looks cute. Do you need to charge a fee for water or trash or other utilities that you're going to have to cover if it's not metered separately? They're all things that affect your bottom line. And without having a good team member here locally, it can really be expensive for you. So anyway, this is just a short video, like really understand the neighborhood. If you're going to invest in Kansas City, come here. If you want to find property in the area, you can give us a call, schedule a time to go look at a couple and see maybe what's going to make sense. If you're going to buy in Kansas, you're going to spend more money. But here's 250, you'd probably be looking at 150 for the same size house on the other side of the state line here. But come to Kansas City, learn it, figure out what neighborhood you want to be in. What's your price point? Do you want to put a bunch of cash down so you cash flow well? Or do you want to have no equity, or do you want to have no cash into the property so your cash on cash return is going to be higher? They're all things you need to consider. What's your strategy? And then if you don't have the ability to have a large reserve for incidentals that come up, then maybe it's not the best time to buy into rental property in Kansas City. So anyway, if you want to discuss more about this, you can give us a call, 816-378-0007, or you can email me at eddie@kcvppm.com. So thanks for checking this out. We'd love to hear from you if you are looking to invest in Kansas City.